I met Richard when I was doing my OE in the UK. I ran out of immigration time in the UK, so I had to come back to New Zealand, and Richard came back with me. He ran out of immigration time in New Zealand after a year, so we decided that we would meet somewhere neutral. We ended up in Dubai in the Middle East for a couple of years, got engaged and married while we were living in Dubai, and then went from Dubai to Malaysia, and then the opportunity came up for us to come back to Omarama.
It was quite a shock to the system coming from a small farm in the crowded southeast of England to a big block like this in the middle of relatively nowhere. The fact that out the back is 1,500 metres plus, and the extremes of the summer and winter, that was a hell of a culture shock. The largest block is 2,000 hectares up at about 1,550 metres, and that gets used for summer grazing, so that's at one extreme. And then we've got 560 hectares of centre pivot irrigation, and that runs at about 22, 23 stock units per hectare and is extremely intensive. So at the moment, this time of the year in the spring, all our lambs are out there being fattened. Shearing, that's a big part of our harvest, if you like, and we'll have 6 shearers, but 10 wool handlers, and there's a massive amount of passion and precision that has to go into getting the right wool in the right bins for the right brand partners. Most of what we supply is contracted in long-term contracts to the likes of Icebreaker and Sheeping, etc. Those kind of brands really want to know what it is you're doing in terms of emissions and animal health and everything else. So it's just an add-on to that kind of thing.
So relationships are really important for us, for the sheep meat and the sheep wool and the cattle as well. So long-term relationships that where we know where our product's going to the end user is what we're all about basically, and trying to get a premium for that. So the greenhouse gas numbers and carbon numbers are really important for that.
Probably have a better relationship with our brand partners than with each other. In North America and Europe, which is, let's face it, where the money is, and increasingly in Asia, an awareness about greenhouse gases is huge over there. So they're reacting to that, and they want us to react to that. And we don't have a problem with that. We get that completely. But in terms of their commitment to the long term, we had a Zoom call with one of our major brand partners in the early days of the COVID lockdown, and the very first phrase from the guy was, "We will honour our contracts." So because of our commitment to him and vice versa, our commodity price for that year actually didn't change at all. But that's because they can go out and tell a story based on things like our greenhouse gas emissions. So we're selling two things now. We're selling the raw material, the product, but we're also selling the story that goes along with it. And that story has to be bang on the money. We can't be sort of making it up. They don't want anything to do with where you're fudging the figures. It's got to be really accurate, because they're worried that if you were lying, which is absolutely dead right, if we get caught out, they get caught out. So everybody's got to be absolutely confident that the other guy is telling the truth.
It's also important to know every farm's different, so every farm needs to know their number and what's working and what's not working. So that's always been our philosophy in whatever we do, that we have to do our own research, we have to do our own investment into our business, and that's pretty much what we've always tried to do.
Yeah, and I mean, the high country is such a tiny part of all of New Zealand's ag that where rules are put in place for everyone, well, we're so off left field of where everyone is that if we don't establish what's actually going on, then we're going to get lumped in with everybody else, for good or bad. We strongly believe that we have to do more than just produce something and then put it at the front gate and hope that somebody will pay us a premium for it. It's a big world out there, and what the market wants, the market gets, and if we're not supplying it, they'll find it somewhere else. When you go to big Asian capitals or big cities around the world, people live their life online. So we're happy to provide imagery that they might aspire to, that they want to have a connection by virtue of the garment or the food they eat or whatever. That's going to be a huge change, but maintaining those traditional values that we do now, I think will also be a big part of building that story and adding value to what we produce. I think we don't say enough just how incredible New Zealand is as a country and how special it is, and that we fail to recognise that at our own peril. As farmers, we've got some things we need to tidy up on, absolutely, but it's not all bad. And we should celebrate the fact that this is a pretty amazing place to live and bring your kids up. I don't think we do that often enough, and I'd like to see a bit more of that.
Yeah, we host a lot of brand partners here, and they always are amazed at what we do and how we live and everything. And it does make you reflect a little bit on what you're doing and then appreciate it as well.
We're really, really lucky. We're so lucky that we've got the genuine article here. The whole of New Zealand is fantastically clean and green, compared to the rest of the world by none. So we've got an opportunity to make the most of that and to protect it so that we are actually getting paid more for it than the rest of the world.